Trump will come to the NATO summit and say what US is prepared to guarantee for European security, provided you Europeans do this. Up to a minimum of 3.5%, 5% tops global. It's looking very, very fragmented at the moment. And the worst case scenario is that, as threatened, Trump walks away, takes his bat and ball and walks away and doesn't even turn up at the NATO conference.
Now, though, I want to welcome Robert Fox, the defence editor at the Evening Standard. Robert, welcome back to you.
Hello.
So, what are you expected to hear, Robert? Tell us.
Well, I think it'll be steady as she goes. The thing to watch out for is what Healey says he is going to do in relation to his principal European allies, and of course where Trump and Hegseth sit on this, because people are holding their breath for the big NATO summit on 24th, 25th of June in The Hague, where we're really going to see what the new Trump, the second Trump presidency's stance is on NATO, on supporting allies, on prosecuting what the allies are trying to do, that is supporting them in the war in Ukraine, and how much America is prepared to help to assist with the warnings that we've had hitherto from allies on the front line, namely the Baltics, Poland and Finland, about attempts by Russia, which they now detect, to spread the war. Right. So much so that Oscar Pistorius, who we're going to hear from, the German defense minister, has warned that we should be preparing against the possibility that Russia will launch an all-out war, ground war against NATO in the east of Europe in 2029.
Yeah, that is a chilling thought. Robert, do you take it as a given now that the NATO will declare that it supports the policy of raising defence spending among those NATO members to 3.5% of national earnings, GDP, by 2035? Is that now certain to happen? And do you expect the British government to say, yeah, we put our hand up to that too?
The British government, following the defence review, has got its hand in a vice. Because there we had the promise to go to 2.5%, if you want to play the percentage game, by 2027, aspiration to go to 3% in the next parliament, that's after 2028, 29. And then we have Trump saying, actually, we've done an agreement that we see NATO as quite soon as possible, as we heard today, spending 5%. On defence. And we broke a story, a group of us, including the Times correspondent Larissa Brown in the Defence Correspondents Association. I had it at the Standard, Debs Haynes, and it was a real collective effort. Actually, Mark Rutte had discussed a deal with Trump as early as the end of November last year that Europe would up the ante, spend minimum of 3.5% on basic defence, 1.5% on the extras, that's pensions, welfare funds, and the intelligence services, to get up to 5%, and very soon. And that is within the current parliament. And this is the thing where I think Starmer and Healey have been caught out, because what they've been pointing out to Britain, this is Mark Rutte, is actually you're one of the slowest of the major European allies to come up to the norm that we've decided. You're down there with Spain, still around 1.2%. And this leadership, Europe first, NATO, that we had in the Strategic Defence Review, it's looking, well, should I say, a bit of a thin facade at the moment. And there's a lot of talking going to go on between this very meeting we're hearing about today and right up to the NATO conference and the 30th of June, the defence industry strategy. That's a big one, because where are you going to spend the money and on what? And they haven't been very clear about it.
Well, how do you imagine Keir Starmer and John Healey and the British government are going to deal with that? And will they, I mean, it's fine for the Secretary General of NATO to say, 3.5% of national earnings in the space of this parliament would be a good thing. But a lot of countries, not just Britain, are way behind that. And Keir Starmer, as we say, has been pretty reticent to commit to 3% in the next parliament. So is that possible to finesse that? How do you get round that if you're Starmer or Healey?
Very good question, because I think, again, sorry to quote my own work, but I don't know whether you've known me for ages, John. I started life as a historian looking at medieval texts and how they were written, and how you detected in a chronicle or even an account book in something like the Wonderful Republic of Siena, where you got different hands. Sorry, I haven't gone off on one. The SDR has quite clearly been written by different hands with a rush job in from the Treasury influence at the very end saying, no, we're not committing to building the army to 76,000 from the present 70,000 because only our circumstances, the economy, the growth of the economy, blah, blah, blah. There's an awful lot of speculative stuff, less guaranteed in the defense review, which shows precisely the dilemma that you've described.
Yeah.
He's under pressure from his backbenchers. He's under pressure from the party. He's under pressure from the lobby, which says welfare, not warfare. But the allies, and it's not just America, it's Mark Rutte, it's the Germans, it's the French, and would you believe it, even the Italians are saying, what are you really going to do? Because we don't know how to work with you unless we really know how much you're going to bring to the party.
Yeah, I know. Well, maybe we're heading with some sort of almighty fudge to just try and get through these difficult questions. But last night we were reporting that President Trump is going to be at that NATO summit in a couple of weeks' time, which seemed to be, didn't it, an indication that Trump was expecting to hear what he wants to hear about in NATO spending.
That indeed is the case, because we understood from very senior British sources that this is the idea that Mark Rutte had really worked on, and he's an accomplished negotiator. Remember, he knows how to deal from the bottom of the deck. Rutte, he deals with coalitions. He deals with awkward coalition partners, just of the kind that have bust up the government in Holland only yesterday. And the deal was Trump will come on side. Trump will come to the NATO summit and say, what US is prepared to guarantee for European security, provided you Europeans do this, up to a minimum of 3.5%, 5% tops global, the kind of thing that Poland is going towards. But then we've had a bit of a result in the Polish presidential election. And what are they're going to do? It's looking very, very fragmented at the moment. And the worst case scenario is that, as threatened, Trump walks away, takes the bat and ball and walks away and doesn't even turn up at the NATO conference in The Hague.